All right, we are back, and we have just finished watching The Last Jedi. Star Wars: The Last Jedi, directed by Rian Johnson, written by Rian Johnson.
Hey, welcome back, everybody.
So, welcome back. Time travel, actually,
right?
Because we just sat here for about 2.5 hours, and you just went from okay, we're gonna see you on the other side to hey, we're back. So
it will be really fun to listen to the audio to see what's going on.
Right. So, what are your thoughts?
All right. So, overall, it held my attention. I really liked the storyline. There was like great action, really like a good storyline. Like I said, good dialogue. There were many times where I was like laughing out loud and stuff like that. Like it held my attention. It was great. I'm thinking of different adjectives. So overall, I'm happy. It's probably one of, I could definitely like watch this again.
Honestly, of the new Star Wars, this generation Star Wars, because it's separated into 3 in my opinion.
Right.
And I'm leaving out the TV stuff because there's a whole legion of TV stuff.
Oh god.
But no, the TV stuff's not bad. It's just
it's just a lot.
It's part of, so we're just gonna stick to the movie universe.
Right.
And so there's the prequels. There's the OG,
right,
and then there is the old school OG, and then there's the new movies, which include some prequels, some ancillary, but there's also the sequels.
And there was a lot of callbacks.
Oh no,
to like not like the imagery and things like that, but like all like the retro tech from like the OG series and stuff like that. Like when they're in the last base with the salt and stuff, like that was.
Right,
like retro tech kind of.
Oh yeah, and they bring a lot of stuff back. Yeah, this is actually this and Rogue One are my favorites of the newest films.
Yeah.
Granted, I haven't seen Solo yet, so it's not, I can't judge that one yet. But still, I actually thought this was better than The Force Awakens when I first watched it.
Yeah, I did not really. Well, again, granted, I don't know how much they cut out of it, but Force Awakens, I did not like. Compared to The Last Jedi. Last Jedi was definitely above that now. I don't know about Rogue One. I don't know. Like, it goes back and forth.
It stands on its own because it's its own. It's meant to be, this is it. It ain't like, like you might see one or two of these characters in another movie, but
that's true.
It's like, this is it.
Yeah.
Whereas in this one, well... You're going to see about a handful of these characters, at least not from the beginning, because fuck, man. So spoilers.
Right.
I just feel behooved to say that.
Right.
Honestly. I really do.
It's not. It's part of the lexicon now. It's all good. Let me turn on a light real quick. It's because what I actually did was I was jotting notes down while we were watching.
All
right. So the first note that I have was quotes. Holding for Hog, or wait, was it Hog? What was the Imperial guy? Like at the beginning when he's like, when Poe's like trying to communicate.
Huck.
Oh, it was Huck. I put Hog. I don't know.
All right, that's all right. No, it's Admiral Huck or General Huck.
General, right?
Yeah.
So, but that whole
interchange.
That whole interchange was hilarious.
That was actually when I remember when I first saw that hit me out of left because that's the first funny moment. In the movie.
Yeah.
And I wasn't expecting. I mean, like you expect some sort of joke or cheesy thing in every. Star Wars movies have this.
Right.
They do. Okay. Some.
But it's not cheesy.
No, but
though.
I'm just saying, like, there's gonna be some sort of like like fun little thing, or whatever.
Right.
And so,
But I think George Lucas was more like dad jokes. Like this, like the jokes in here were like pretty spot on.
These jokes to me kind of felt like Rian Johnson was influenced by like Monty Python or someone. Like there's sort of like just an unexpected dry, kind of like,
wow, that
what?
Totally...
Like when the joke kind of hits or something, or like the looks. Like there's there's little things like the side eye that like characters give each other when something else happens.
Yes,
or hell, even when Luke, like we finally see Luke, here he is. What's he gonna do? He grabs the lightsaber and he just tosses it over his shoulder and walks away. That's like a very Monty Python thing, like to me.
Yeah,
like, anyway,
right, yeah. And he's just like, whatever, and just walks away. No, I definitely like that. It was, you're absolutely right about that. I'm trying to
that's okay. Yeah,
reload a little bit here.
So, all right. So, what else you got on your notes there?
I put, when did Dreadknots become a thing?
Dreadnought. Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's one of the new weapons shown off. One of the big mean baddie ships.
But was that in Force Awakens?
No. It was
just like all of a sudden.
Well, I mean, Force Awakens didn't like. I mean, like much like with think about it like with Empire. Like in Empire, it opens up with like the Imperial fleet,
right?
And then you see the Star Destroyer, and you knew the Death Star is gone. But then you see this bigger other ship, and that's the Super Star Destroyer. They didn't have to intro. It's just like it is a Super Star Destroyer.
But they knew exactly what it was. Like they didn't like it. It just kind of seemed a little off to me, where it was like, oh, the Dreadknots are here. We know exactly what they are already. And I'm just like, well, as the audience member, I don't know. Like, I thought it would have been a little bit better if they're like, what the fuck is that? Or something, like, I was surprised as the audience member. And so, I don't know, like, it just kind of just felt, it didn't feel flat, but it just made me confused. Like, they already know what it is, but to me, I didn't.
No, fair enough.
And then I had this, how can you drop bombs in space? Like, like the bombers and stuff like that. It's like, it's like you need gravity. Like, bombs work. Well, if it's not a projectile, if you're gonna quote unquote drop them, that means like you need some type of gravity to pull you.
Right.
So, I was just like, how does that work? But space or future stuff.
Yeah. Well, look, I mean, the how are there explosions? There's
that is true too.
There's a lot of little laws of physics that aren't obeyed in science fiction.
True.
Space movies, and the Star Wars universe has never been one to be like, we're gonna stay as close to this science as we can. They.
But I could believe explosions, but to have something drop, like
maybe they were magnetic. Like it was like
that's
that
true.
Kind of thing. Like of course. That would beg the question, then the thing of like, well, if they're magnetic, then why don't you just drop them fucking anywhere and like get them close enough, and then those all
right. Don't stand on top of it. Just like fucking let them go. Like use it like as a projectile instead of just dropping them. I don't know. I mean, maybe that's why they lost all their bombers due to stupid technology.
Yeah, to say nothing of the fact that like it was just a bad strategy. I mean, it was
Princess Leia, man, she's gotta get her strategy a little.
No, it wasn't even her strategy. She was like, okay, we did what we needed to do. Come home, and Poe Dameron disobeyed an order, and then was like, okay, I'm gonna do this anyway. And it was like, but they tried to illustrate like to him in the movie that was a bad idea.
Right.
Like, you made a bad decision.
Oh, my God.
Only after a few hundred more deaths did he learn his lesson at the end. He was like, no, everybody come back. No, they're right.
What was the general with the purple hair? What was her name?
Oh, she's an admiral.
Admiral.
I can't remember.
When she was just, like, trying to lay into Poe, I was just like, man, it's just like, I feel like, it's like a girlfriend or your wife or your mother, like, just, like, coming down hard on you or something like that. I don't know. Like, it just kind of, do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I do. But in the end, though, you end up getting, like, sort of like, oh, wait, there's more to her. Like, there's more, like, I feel like they turned it around a bit. Like, there's a bit of misdirection there.
Yeah.
In sort of like making making the audience think one way or feel one way, but then like somebody else comes back on and stuff. Yeah.
And then I was in the middle of writing, why is Luke so reluctant? And then in the middle of it, they cut to the scene where I wrote alien tits. I was just like
The blue milk.
What?
Oh, that blue milk.
It was just like this random, like, fleshy-looking alien just, like, laying around.
Yeah.
And it's just like, alright, I'm just gonna milk the shit out of its alien tits.
Well, I guess gotta survive somehow.
I was just like, well, I guess that's, my own intergalactic cultural, identity, because I only think milk comes from Earth animals. I don't know. It was just like, ugh.
Fair enough.
Next, I was like, Leah dead? No. Spoiler alert.
Right.
Because I liked that scene, and it was one of the few scenes, like, if you ever, like, I hate to compare it to Star Trek, but the one thing that I was, like, remember, especially in the new movies or any of the movies, is, like, anytime the hull gets breached, they always have a scene of, like, some random
person getting blown out to space.
And that's not one of the things that you normally see in Star Wars. So with that whole scene, and you just see her just get sucked out and, kind of like flip and all that stuff, that was pretty cool. And I was just like, oh shit.
Right.
And then, cut to, somewhere else, and then back to her, and her finger starts moving, and I was like, oh, yeah, that's right. She's got the Force in her. So. And then, what else did I write? When they're in the casino, I put the aliens that sound like humans annoy me. I think that's like.
What do you mean?
Like the alien that like reported.
Oh, and it's like, well, that's the one, as opposed to an alien that has some alien like blah 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 blah, like or alien language,
right?
Or something.
It just sounded too humanoid. Like it just didn't like.
Right.
It just didn't sit well with me.
Fair enough.
I put Mark Hamilton is not a good sword fighter. His technique, I don't know.
Mark Hamill, you mean?
Yeah, Hamill. Sorry. Don't email us. All right. Like I said, I'm an advanced beginner. Plus, I'm stoned, and these Girl Scout cookies are great. And then I put Luke equals Yoda, and like all the stuff that happened in terms of Luke training his apprentice just like Yoda,
right? And
then he turned bad just like Vader, and then there was another one, and Yoda I think was also reluctant, and he hid out, and he kind of just separated himself for a while. And in the OG movies, when Luke went to go back to him, he was kind of like right before Yoda died, right? So that's like all the the parallels and stuff like that.
Sure, there are.
So, and then the last thing I wrote was Luke was a quote unquote born again Jedi.
Right. All right. I feel ya.
So that's what I got. Overall, it's a movie I'll definitely watch again.
All right.
Like,
yeah. I found it to be rewatchable.
Oh, definitely.
Like myself, it's like, and I gotta say, like, again, it defeats physics in all sorts of weird ways and stuff.
Just the drums bopping,
like,
bomb shopping.
But it's one of my favorite, like, new favorite, like, Star Wars or space. Like moments, space battle moments, when the Admiral jumps the cruiser into Lightspeed into the big ship. Growing up, I was like, I wonder what happened, because I was like, is that their final straw, like against the Death Star? And the other one's like, look, if you just take a big enough ship and you hit it at Lightspeed, hitting that,
right,
it might not destroy it all, but like it'll put it out of its it'll be more than a dent. And so I was like, I wonder what happens. And then sure enough, like that's the sort of like final straw move here. And then there's that moment of silence. Yeah. Just that, at least that one, there's not a giant explosion. They follow it up, but there's more explosions and stuff. But then it becomes like just this moment of like silence.
Yeah.
And then you see just like splitting through like light, like
Yeah, and like the small tiny lights and stuff like
from
that.
Just the force of the impact, like obliterating the major ship and several of the other ships.
The way that you're talking about it kind of reminds me of was it like Joss Whedon and like Firefly, right? Where like some of the visual techniques that he would use for for some of the space sequences and stuff like that, where he would kind of like have it. You would see the ship from afar, and then like automatic like zoom far in and things like that. Mm-hmm. I don't know, like the way that you described it, kind of set me off. Like not set me off, but just kind of like thought about like that.
But I thought it was a cool scene.
That's definitely right. Like... I also liked it when you saw the Imperial destroyers come in from light speed.
At the very beginning, you can see them in the atmosphere.
Yes.
Like, oh fuck, and it kind of reminds you of like, imagine how somebody feels in like the First Order, but the same difference. But like that's how people felt like you saw this thing split out of nowhere.
Right?
Like, fuck.
Fuck.
Like there's trouble.
Here you go. I'll light this for you because you got to hold
the
microphone.
Thanks. All right, we're doing tandem stuff.
Tandem. So I'm lighting the Genius pipe.
Got it.
While he's holding the mic. So we're tag teaming right now.
So, what are some other thoughts?
I thought it was kind of an interesting dialogue between what was her name again? The new Jedi. Rey. Okay. Rey and Kylo Ren. I thought it was very interesting the interactions, like the bridge that they would do in between each other. And so, like when I saw the previews for the movie, for a second I thought, well, I knew that this movie touched based on, kind of tiptoeing between the light and dark side. Mm-hmm. And I know Rey, was kind of being enticed, but I also thought, during the first beginnings of Luke's interaction, I thought that he was kind of teetering, and then with Kylo Ren, like there's some still light in him, like, but that kind of is like a callback to Darth Vader, anyways. Mm-hmm. I kind of like how at the end they kind of left it in there, like, there's still, there's still uncertainty.
Right.
The Imperial Guard, or the what's his name? Snow.
Are you talking about the main villain? Like
no. The African American actor. What was his?
The former Imperial. Finn.
Yeah. Oh, Finn. Right. I liked the scene when he was going to go right into the
cannon.
The cannon.
Yeah, the battering ram.
And then Rose just comes. I thought it was like it was going to be done. I thought that would have been a good scene, but sure. I guess they had more to do.
Right.
So.
I think the more you think about it, and then in a rewatch, it actually ends up helping.
Yeah.
But the thing about this film, and in most of the newer Star Wars films, because the thing is you sort of have to like, there's this sort of established kind of thing for the types of shots you see.
Right.
As far as spaces, spaceships or something moving or whatever. It's you see that kind of stuff. So there are plenty of the quote unquote like sort of like the beauty shots of Star Wars in here.
Right.
Ships flying overhead, going through tunnels, the blasters, the fights,
yeah,
the explosions. Yes, the cannon fire.
Oh, when they were in Snoke's chamber with like the fire kind of.
Well, I was about
down.
to get into like, but it looks like Rian Johnson also learned from watching samurai movies.
Oh,
and martial arts films, how to frame certain shots, like that one. And like several other scenes where if you think about it and like just look at a still of it, you're like, this is kind of like a samurai movie, or this is kind of like something along those lines.
What he did is that he actually pulled back.
Uh-huh.
See, like if you watch like Transformers and all all the new action movies and stuff, it's always quick takes, and it just like you can't like visually see because basically the actors aren't very good at martial arts.
Right.
So you're absolutely right. What you saw is that he actually pulled back, and just you see all the sequence of all that action sequence.
Yeah,
it wasn't as showy like some of like the prequels. Like you see in like the fight scenes, especially with Yoda, like flipping and just like all these all that stuff, right? You're flipping like the lightsaber in the air. Like I think like the fight scenes in this one were way more practical and took and a lot less showy.
Yeah.
Like and
well, it kind of a way I like now. Like, granted, I thought that Yoda flipping shit was kind of cool. Admittedly, like I think like they're movies of their times in a way.
I hear you.
And also of their directors,
right?
In the prequels and like that scene, and then Revenge of the Sith and stuff. The director is more feeling that vibe of like, I have all this technology and stuff at my fingertips. I want to make this the most insane big fight like I ever want,
right?
Because that's what they wanted. Now for this though, like Rian Johnson was like, you know what? You're only going to see a lightsaber come on every now and then. And when it does, it's going to be meaningful in every moment it comes on.
Right.
And that was sort of an important thing. Like, a lightsaber just comes, hey, look, I got a lightsaber.
Right.
But every moment that thing's on, or a lightsaber is on, it matters. And so that's, like, not, like, blowing too much there. Besides, there's all this battle going on in space anyway.
Right. I think, again, that's a callback to the old samurai movies, because if you look back to those fight sequences, like they're not actually drawing the sword until much later, like like the whole like standoff and kind of eyeing each other, kind of similar to like westerns, right?
Which were drawn by samurai films. Like,
so but you're absolutely right, you don't always have to draw the sword.
And then, of course, when it does happen, let's make it cool. Like, let's make it work. Like, at the end of the day, too, you don't want it to be stupid either.
Yeah.
And so, all right, well, what are your thoughts on the passing of Luke Skywalker? Because his character does die. It's confirmed. Well, as dead as Jedi again, I guess.
Right, exactly.
Because there's all sorts of folks who have fan theoried since then of like, will there be a Luke ghost in the next one and that kind of stuff. And
well, of course there's going to be a Luke ghost.
Well,
there was a Yoda ghost.
But still, you never know. And so,
but are they ghosts?
Well, or whatever the hell they are, Jedi ghosts and shit,
Right?
Like,
I mean, they never really go away, do they?
I feel like they sort of like can just pop up if they really want to, or they're drawn to something.
Right.
But they're not necessarily just hanging about, like bored, like in the wings, just like, because if they were really that corporeal and like can be anywhere at any time, I think they would still have more influence. Unless on the other side they're like they don't care, like it's different,
I think he's gonna come back, because like if that whole scene at the end where he disappears is supposed to be like a callback to Obi-Wan Kenobi dying, Obi-Wan Kenobi died in person. Like, he disappeared by getting struck by Vader with the lightsaber. Well, or did he disappear before?
Right at the moment, like, so he disappeared without that lightsaber touching his physical body.
Okay. Then if that's the case, then he'll come back as
Figure he's gonna come back as a ghost.
Yeah,
or whatever.
He'll come back as a blue.
Yeah,
Jedi.
blue glowy version.
Right.
So, but and regardless of that, what do you think of the way his character went out?
I wrote, I put Born Again Jedi. I think, again, it kind of calls back to Yoda, because Yoda, was, he questioned himself, right? Luke was his last student. I'm not really answering the question, am I? What was the question again?
It was just, what are your feelings on the character's death? Technically? Yeah, I mean, technically his death is what I mean.
He's not really gone. He'll probably pop in when they, when he is needed. I think, it was a good sending off and kind of like passing the torch.
Yeah.
In some ways. And so I think he will come back when it's needed. I think this was a way to kind of focus on the new characters. I think the connection between Rey and Kylo Ren, I think that's interesting, because it's almost like a love story, as well as the difference between love and hate, and the dualism. And it will be interesting if they they're drawn to each other, so of course it's going to turn into a love story.
Or
but,
is it? Do you really think that?
Well,
you think that's going to end up in the third one?
But again, this whole movie was about tiptoeing between
light and dark.
Light and dark, but again, love and hate. Like, they're drawn to each other.
Yeah, but does it have to be a romantic love? If it's love, there is just love, just sort of.
It's not going to be like the prequels love with what's her face.
Well, that had to happen because Vader had to have kids.
True.
And so,
but it's not going to be that sappy. It's going to be a lot more complicated because they are attracted to each other, like literally and figuratively.
Do you think it's an attraction, or do you think it's a bond thing? Like more like there's this other person who's like me, and maybe not so much like, ooh, I want to like be with you, but just sort of like, here's this other person who there's no one else in the galaxy we found like me yet.
Right, but that is the spectrum. I think they're gonna tiptoe on that. It's not gonna be cheesy, but it's an internal question between it's dualism. It's love and hate, compassion and hatred, physical attraction and physical hate. Like, you could tell, like, they wanted to drop swords and make out and then pick up their swords and try to kill each other.
I never got the vibe that they wanted to make out, though. I honestly never really got that off of it. I got a sense of sort of a wanting to be almost in a sort of like, this is like my bizarro twin born on another planet kind of feeling, more than like, to me anyway. I never got the vibe of like, oh you, let's fall into each other's arms at all. Like, I mean, maybe that's just...
Maybe not that... Maybe I'm making it too cheesy, but again...
I mean, like, I'm not saying that, like, maybe you could arguably... I mean,
but
it's
attraction...
a matter of looking, I mean, like, or the viewer's, like, interpretation, I guess.
True.
I don't think that was meant to be a point.
Yeah.
But I don't think it was necessarily meant to... maybe, if anything, they were like, we're never talking about it. Like, it just never comes up.
Right.
And so maybe it's just one of those things that's left up to the viewer.
Right.
I just don't think I personally don't pick up that vibe myself.
Okay.
But that's just me.
Right.
That's just, I mean,
But I think the ideas, again, dualism is going between these two characters. I think, kind of expands the spectrum, and it'll, go through all the different emotions. But going back to Luke dying, I mean, I think it was good closure, for his own character. I think there was an internal struggle, and he, it was kind of like his Zen koan, and he understood his purpose, and he did what he needed to do, and he kind of resolved his issues, and in the Jedi sense, he became enlightened and went on to a different plane of existence, similar to Yoda, similar to Obi-Wan.
Right on.
So I think, like I said, he'll be back in the next movie here and there, but it'll be interesting to see what they do with Carrie Fisher and her with General Leia.
Yeah, I know. There's been the story so far is that there were unused scenes from The Force Awakens that JJ had shot that they're going to try to fit into the thing, but they have made it expressly clear they're not going to have a digital redoing of her. Like, they're not going to recreate her like they did with Tarkin and like Rogue One and stuff. And it's been forbidden by the family too.
Oh,
and so, but they do have
footage
and scenes.
Yeah,
from The Force Awakens that they're going to use for the third film to help get her character sewn up enough.
So they had to change the script.
Oh yeah, well, we think we don't. I mean, it's presumed that yes, they did in fact have to change the script several times after she passed, but we never knew what was the story. We just don't know. So
too bad we will never. Like the
I
family,
know it's too bad.
Like the family that they won't let them do Ghost Leah.
It's just
because she was Jedi.
Yeah, but it's still, she was also different in her own way too. No two Jedi necessarily and not all the Jedis come back as ghosts.
That's true.
Or not all Force people or whatever they are come back as ghosts.
Yeah.
And she never really, clearly she got to hone what force power she had.
Right.
But she never trained or changed it into the kind of what we consider like the Jedi way.
She never leveled up.
or she never needed to. You know, like in her own way. Like, but she could feel. She could still like. You could tell she had the power.
Yeah.
But she just didn't go that route of learning the other like lightsaber shit and stuff. So.
Gotcha.
All right. Well, you know what? I think we might have a two-parter on our hands.
Yeah.
Because we're getting on time. But here's what I think we should set up for part 2.
Okay.
Of this discussion. Is part 2, now that you've seen the movie and I've seen the movie, we can ponder, why is it so controversial?
Is it?
Oh, it's created a shitstorm. It is one of the most divisive films of Star Wars. People don't say. Yes.
You can't see this, but I'm rolling my eyes.
I know. You know what? I don't necessarily disagree. It's like, what was wrong with it? I mean, like, people don't like movies, fine. You don't like something, fine. But no, this turned.
You don't see me. I'm shrugging right now. My hands are up. I'm
it's like,
what
why?
The fuck? What?
We're going to get into the controversy.
Oh my god! Let's do it.
That not because of like the film itself,
right?
Because of the reaction to it, and by some people.
What?
I remember when we watched it. When the first scene when Rose, her character came up.
Yeah.
You asked, why was everybody angry about her character again? Like, you literally are like, what's the big why? Why did everybody get all upset? What the fuck? You know, exactly. We're going to get into that.
Oh my god.
And we're going to examine that.
God.
As we ponder, why did everybody get who? I mean, look, if you don't like a movie, you don't like a movie. You know, but what? And so I think next episode we're going to try to examine what the fuck was wrong with people with the movie.
Oh my god.
Like, what was their problem? And we're going to then probably make fun of them, or some folks.
Please bring it on. 'Cause I have some assumptions right now that there is a certain type of people that don't like this movie.
We're gonna talk about it next time, though. We're gonna let's hold our assumption for a moment.
Okay.
I think I know where you're going with it.
Yes.
I think I'm probably on a similar page.
Okay.
That we can maybe think that it was.
No.
All right. We won't. We'll talk about it next time.
Next time.
Part 2. Meantime.
Hold on. I'll get you. Hold on.
Meantime, we're going to wrap up this episode saying we watched The Last Jedi, and we thank you for joining. It's the movie runtime is like 2.5 hours. It's a long
what time
movie.
did we start? But then we had an hour before.
Yeah, it's been a minute. Okay. So, you can reach, we are 504Twenty. You can catch us at 504Twenty.podomatic.com. We are on Instagram, 504Twenty, and that is the word 420. And that's the same as our Gmail, 504Twenty@gmail.com. And we're on Twitter at the numbers 504 and the word 20.com. Twitter, at 504Twenty. So you can catch us on there, and I hope you join us for our continuing discussion. I did say Instagram.
We did say Instagram.
Yeah, 504Twenty.
That's where we're most active right now.
Yeah, a lot of you cats do check us out on Instagram. So feel free to click on the thing to listen to us too if you'd like to.
Click on the bio. That's where our link is to our podcast. But
So,
you already done that because that's why you're listening.
Yeah, we would hope so. Anyway, but if you haven't either way, I hope you enjoyed hanging out with us. And write to us if you write to us if you have an opinion about Star Wars.
Oh no! Don't say that! No! Don't say that!
All right. We will continue this discussion on The Last Jedi next time. In the meantime, though, thank you for toking with us.
Yes.
We love you and appreciate you all. I am Magick Sam.
I am Zekiel Parchment.
And this is 504Twenty. Thanks, y'all. May the Force be with you.
May the Force be with you.